Welcome, everyone. This is John Ryan, and you have reached the Manny's Irish Pub Sports Betting Show for Friday, August the 26th, 2022. And I just got rid of that little echo I had there, so that's good to know. So anyway, welcome to the show. Jesse Schule from Predictive Playbook is joining us, and we also have Rocky Atkinson, who appears on Predictive Playbook, and he is the founder and creator of winningcappers.net, two sites that you definitely want to go check out. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. We're running a little late, but not the biggest deal in the world, I don't think. There's a lot of other things that are way more important, like Rocky Atkinson's NFLX Game of the Year goes tonight. Welcome to the show, Rocky. Let's start off with that so everybody can get on board and find out how to get this pick that I believe you have won just about every single year. I know you were number one at Sports Memo last year, and I think I was number two, unfortunately, but that's not bad being 1 and 2. But take it away and tell us how to get on that play.
Yeah, John, thank you. Thank you for having me again. I did hit 70% last year with all my NFL picks. I do have my NFL preseason game of the year going tonight. You can grab it at winningcappers.net, predictiveplaybook.com, and hopefully we'll cash. Looking forward to a big winner.
Yeah, it's a good play. I mean, it's definitely a play you should tail. Jesse Schule, what do you have going on over at predictiveplaybook.com these days and Winning Cappers? You also appear on winningcappers.net.
I do, and I'm just behind Rocky on the leaderboards for NFLX this year with a 7-2 record. I got one more play coming up, and that is my total of the year on Sunday.
Nice. So make sure you get that one too after Rocky wins his tonight. I'm going to start out with the college football slate for week 0, and for the life of me, it's not something I'm going to ponder much longer, but I don't know why they call it week 0. Why don't they just call it week 1 and go from there? You know, Python computer language actually starts with 0. Like if you wanted to know how many runs a team scores in the first inning, your code would actually say inning 0. But I don't think the NCAA football season operates like that. But anyway, we're in week 0, and we have the Nebraska Cornhuskers, who I think are going to finally have a very, very good season under fifth-year head coach Scott Frost. They got the right quarterback in now, the kid from Oklahoma. He can throw lasers all over the field. They have the wide receivers in place, can catch those balls. And I think a lot of Big Ten opponents that they face this year are going to have their hands full. I don't know if a team like Ohio State is going to worry too much about Nebraska, but Nebraska's going to have, I think, a good season that's going to outdo the wins total down the road here too. I did a little chart with teams. The pivot number is 28 guys, and like this chart right here shows, this is allowing 21 or fewer points. I'm sorry, scoring 21 or fewer points as a double-digit underdog, and these are the results for every single team in the Big Ten. And you can see that they're not so hot, and you wouldn't expect them to be hot. When you score 21 in the Big Ten, you rarely win and you rarely cover. Maryland is the worst at 4 wins and 38 losses against the spread. We're talking about Nebraska and Northwestern. The line for this game implies a final score roughly of about 34 about 31-20 roughly, 32-20 with the total being where it's at and Nebraska being favored. So you figure that if Northwestern doesn't score more than 21 points, they scored less than 21 points. How do they do in those situations? Well, you can see that it's not so good. And they've had 54 of those games in their last 10 seasons go that route. And that's third most in the Big Ten. So they have traditionally have not had the offense to compete year in and year out in the Big Ten. So we're 17 wins, 36 losses against the spread. That's 32% winners. So with my predictive models, there's clearly a very high probability that Nebraska will score 28 or more points. So if that happens, how do they do? And it's kind of pretty simple to show here. This is actually going to show Northwestern. Northwestern is in a situation where they are a double-digit dog, and in situations since 2017 when they have allowed 28 or more points and are a double-digit dog, their results are 2-19 against the number, 15, 4, and 2 over under, 2-19 straight up. So if you think and you agree with me, guys, that Nebraska is going to score 28 or more points, and I think they'll do it. I think they will accomplish that midway through the third quarter. I really do. I think they're going to come out, like a barn burner and take care of business. Northwestern doesn't really have much of a team this year, with all due respect. Jesse Schule, do you think that's a good play or not?
Well, I will say that I've looked into this, and everything you say makes sense, but we would have said that coming into their season opener last year for Nebraska too, and look what happened. So, somebody wise once said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Scott Frost does not have a great resume in season openers. I'd be worried I'd be worried to be backing Nebraska and laying all those points.
What do you think, Rocky? I've already bet this game, so I can't take it back. But you think Scott Frost changes things up here and they get that win in week 1 finally? I think the new quarterback makes all the difference in the world. They haven't had an athlete like him under the 5 years that Frost has been there. But Rocky, what do you think just briefly of the game and my analysis?
Yeah, I love your breakdown there, John, for sure. My power ratings for this game actually have Nebraska to win by a little more than 21 points. So for that, I definitely lean that way. There's some trends that I think goes against Nebraska though. So, and I don't have them right here in front of me, but I know one of them's Northwestern's 5-1 against spread last 6 meetings they're not playing in Nebraska, are they?
It's in Ireland, actually.
Ireland.
Ireland.
It is in Ireland, so that trend wouldn't even matter. So, yeah, I mean, I would lean to Nebraska myself. I got them winning by a little more than 21 points.
And just so you know, there's a game that has been talked about a lot on the shows that I've been on and some of the shows that I've been a host of, and it's Notre Dame, Ohio State. Ohio State's now favored by 16. I think that number is going to continue to climb as we get to the game, which will be week 1. Buckeyes are favored by 16 points with a 58-point total, implies a 37-21 Buckeyes win. Now listen to this. Since 1989, Buckeyes are 165-0. Should I say that again? 165-0 straight up. 129-32 for 80% against the spread when they score 37 or more points. Last 3 seasons, they're 25-0 straight up, 18-6-1 for 75%. Since 89, the Buckeyes are 262 and 18 losses straight up, 181, 94, and 7 pushes, 65.8%. When they allow an opponent 21 or fewer points, 22-0 straight up, 15-7 the last 3 seasons when allowing 21 or fewer. And you want to know the Irish bad news? 7-43 straight up, 4-46 against the number when they allowed 37 or more since 89. 0-8 straight up and against the spread when a double-digit dog and allowing more than 35 points since 1989. I just wanted to mention that because I am very bullish on that game with Ohio State, and I think that is going to be a track meet, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Ohio State exceed the posted total of 58 on their own merit, and neither one of you can disagree with me on that. But again,
no disagreement for me.
No disagreement?
No, I mean, I'm not going to be on Ohio State. For me, it's a game that I want to sit and watch and pass on. But, we've seen Ohio State do it enough times that, like I said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, right?
Yeah, and it's like trying to fade Nick Saban after a 2-loss season, of which he's had 3 of those. And a 2-loss season of Saban is like, a Rutgers University going 6-10, or something, or having 10 losses in a season. 2 losses to Saban is a disaster. But when following the 3 years that he's done this, he has destroyed the SEC opponents. I believe it's 39-4 straight up, 68% against the spread on those games. Just blindly betting Alabama this year, based on those 3 previous years. But anyway, let's move on to the CFL. And Jesse is a former Vancouver resident. He's now he's actually in Saturday, and we asked him before the show if he could tell us some of the scores, since his time zone is in Saturday, and I guess his TV wasn't working. But wouldn't that be great if we could do that? So what's going on in the CFL, Jesse? What do you got for us? I know it has to do with Penn State, so I'm really excited to hear the news.
Well, I'm here to make a historical prediction about the CFL, and you should be thankful, John, that I'm coming to your channel to make this prediction, because it is a bold statement, let me tell you. Before I get started, though, let's give you a bit of a history lesson. Remember back to 1999 in the NFL, the St. Louis Rams. Kurt Warner was the 3rd string quarterback on the depth chart that year. The Rams ended up trading Tony Banks. Trent Green gets injured. A guy named Kurt Warner from Arena Football steps in. Nobody knows who he is, but he's surrounded by immense talent with Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce, Marshall Faulk. The Rams go on to have the greatest show on turf, and they win the Super Bowl that year. Fast forward 15 years, the Ohio State Buckeyes that we were just talking about, they go into the season with JT Barrett as the quarterback. I believe Cardale Jones, again, was the 3rd string quarterback coming into that season. And JT Barrett gets injured right before the bowl games. In comes Cardale Jones. They end up winning the national championship with this little-known 3rd string quarterback. Again, just surrounded by talent, walking into the perfect situation. And Kurt Warner, he'll be a Hall of Famer, but Cardale Jones was not really, he didn't end up being that great quarterback. Didn't have a career in the NFL to speak of. He was just a lucky guy that walked into a great situation. And this sort of thing is unfolding right now in the CFL with the BC Lions. They have a guy named Nathan Rourke, who leads the CFL in passing with 3,281 yards, 25 touchdowns. Now, this number 2 guy is thrown for 500 fewer yards and 5 fewer touchdowns in 2 more games played. And Nathan Rourke has been injured. He's now sidelined. And in steps a kid named Michael O'Connor, who was on Penn State's roster a few years back. Last year, he beat out a guy named Dakota Prukop, who you guys are probably familiar with. He was a starter at Oregon for a while as a backup quarterback in Calgary. BC signed him. And as you mentioned, I'm from Vancouver, and I was there this summer. And during training camp, the rumors from the local reporters were that this Michael O'Connor kid was looking equally as good as Nathan Rourke. Now he steps into this situation with talented receivers, a talented offensive line, a solid running back with James Butler. You look at their receiving core, Lucky Whitehead, you guys will recognize that name from the NFL. A guy named Brian Burnham, Dominique Rhymes, Javon Gatoy. All 4 of these guys are probably good enough to be a wide receiver 1 on another CFL team. And, I guess I'm going to say that BC is going to pick up where they left off with the new quarterback. They're my pick to win the Grey Cup, and I got Michael O'Connor winning the MVP in the Grey Cup, this kid that nobody's never heard of. That's my bold prediction for tonight.
So you're saying that he's going to evolve into the Tom Brady of the CFL then?
The Kurt Warner of the CFL.
The Kurt Warner, yeah. Well, Tom Brady was unknown too when he came in because of somebody being hurt, a guy named Drew Bledsoe.
That is true.
He was a chubby little guy. And that's, well, for those that have never seen Tommy's combine when he was in college. You must watch it because when he ran around the cones, and that you're supposed to go around them, he tripped and fell.
Isn't that the video that he's tried desperately to have removed from the internet?
I don't know. I think it's still out there. I don't think you can remove something that historic. But anyway, that was a great breakdown. And are there any futures numbers that you know off the top of your head to take advantage of this? Because it's got to be pretty darn juicy, right?
Well, the problem with the CFL is there's only a handful of teams. So you don't get these really long odds to win a championship when the teams that you got to beat out are. So you're probably only looking at, say, 3-1, 4-1 at the best.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, let's move over to college football. And college football, as we talked about the 28-point pivot area, which I've thrived on that and lived by it for years now. We have Vanderbilt going to the island, have a little vacation time there. We know they will be doing their homework assignments because Vanderbilt's one of the best academic schools in the nation. But I hope they enjoy themselves as well because they're at Hawaii. Line started steaming overnight. It was 6.5, 7. It's all the way up to 9.5 now. Rocky, I believe you said the total was 53, right?
54.5.
54.5. So
Yep.
Vanderbilt is projected to have 2.5 on their wins total, and you get plenty of plus money to bet that they're going to have 3 wins. But this is obviously one of the games that they have to win. Take it away, Rocky, and tell us where you're going to put your money on this bet and why we should too.
Thank you, John. Yeah, I'm looking at the under in this game, actually. This Vanderbilt offense was terrible last year. They averaged only 15.8 points per game overall, which was 128th ranked in the nation. They averaged 312.8 yards per game, 120th in the nation. They ranked 104th in the nation in passing, 189.3 yards per game, and they were 103rd in the nation in rushing at 123.5 yards per game. Hawaii had a decent offense last year, but they return only 4 starters from that unit. So I'm thinking production's going to be down for them this season. They lost their starting quarterback. They're losing their leading rusher, and they lost their top 3 receivers from last year. Looking at a few trends for this game, the under is 5-1 the last 3 years when Hawaii is an underdog of 3.5 to 10 points. The under is 7-2 the last 3 years when Vanderbilt plays on the road, and this play has cashed 5 of the last 6 in this situation. The under is 5-2 the last 7 games overall for Vanderbilt. Under is 5-2 the last 7 games when Vanderbilt faces a non-conference opponent. The under is 26-7 the last 33 games when Vanderbilt plays in the first 2 weeks of the season. And the under is 72-38 the last 110 games when Vanderbilt plays in the first half of the season since 1992. So that's going way back. And it appears Vanderbilt, they get off to poor starts each year. And in these early games, they're averaging around 44 points per game dating back several years. So I'm going to recommend a play on the under in this game.
Oh, I love it. It seems like Vanderbilt has had decent defenses over the years, Rocky, but that offense just can't put enough points on the board to win games. And I think that's the situation they're in this year. And the defense probably isn't as good as their average defense has been over the last 10 years. But I love that trend. The first 2 weeks of the season, it was what, 26-7?
Yeah.
The under? Yeah, I mean, that's pretty powerful stuff there. And they're going to be playing on the island. And, and everybody talks about playing on the island and the travel. And, it's a beautiful place. And I do hope they tour it and they enjoy it. That's what you're there for. Anyway, that's a great bet. I guess lastly, make sure you get over to Winning Cappers or Predictive Playbook for these guys' plays this weekend. Starting with Rocky's NFLX game of the year tonight. It's a 10-unit monster play that I assure you definitely want to get on board with. And Jesse, you have a lot of stuff going on. You're number 2 behind Rocky in the NFLX, and you have a play going Sunday, right? A big one.
Yeah, the total of the year for the my final
Right, so that is
preseason
Sunday.
game total of the year. Yeah.
Yeah, so those are 2 picks that I highly recommend. I don't have any 10-unit plays going, but in Major League Baseball, my last 10-unit play did lose, guys. You may remember I was on a 10-0 run with Major League Baseball 5%ers, as I call them, max bets, and it was a dreadful beat. It was probably one of the worst beats I've had in my life, and it was score was 1-1, and I was playing the under through 9 innings. And thanks to the international rule, it went over the total in 11 innings. It went over the total rather easily.
Last time I checked, 10-1 still pretty good though, John.
Yep.
It is.
I'll take 10-1.
It is.
Definitely.
And especially when I have a good excuse of being 1-1 through the 9th inning and betting the under. And I don't know. I didn't think I pissed anybody off to deserve that, but you never know.
Did you have trouble sleeping that night?
Honestly, I woke up and saw it.
I'll tell you, I had Atlanta in the Super Bowl, and I didn't sleep for 2 days. It's probably the only one that's really caused me that kind of stress. But that one was just so bad to be on the wrong side of that game.
And I thought I was on the wrong side of that game. I just figured, all right, well, this one's going to lose, and I'm actually 18-5 in Super Bowls, and I've had a lot of luck, and that was certainly one of them. Because I don't mean to relive this nightmare for you, Jesse, but I remember Julio Jones catching that ball in the 4th quarter, and the game should have been over. They had the best kicker in the game, perhaps history, and all he had to do is just like snap the ball and take a knee, force the Patriots to use the timeouts, and the game's over. And I still don't understand why they ran a power jet sweep and lost yards, and then there was holding, and suddenly they're punting. Anyway, a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of fun this year with the Super Bowl, too. Maybe the next show we do together next week, we'll talk about who we think is going to be in the Super Bowl. I'm going to tell you right now, real quick, I think as each day goes on with my research, I think people ought to pay attention to the Philadelphia Eagles. And a lot of it has to do with the sentiment stuff I do with the Twitter, because I can go in as a Twitter developer, certified guy, and I can run these apps. And the sentiment in Philly with the media is awful. It's very negative. They're not expecting anything out of this team. Number one, that's so rare. Number two is it's contrarian. And we can talk more about that next week, but that would be an intriguing topic. I did bet Jalen Hurts.
You could get me on board for that, John.
I think it's the true. I hate the word value because value is a perception. That you think you have the value, but reality, the market is the market, and that's a fair value price. That's what the betting community establishes, and it is what it is. It's not Vegas trying to trick us or make a prediction. They're just trying to get equal action on both sides. They don't care who wins. But I think that the Eagles have the weapons. They really do. But anyway, any final thoughts, Rocky, before we take off here?
I just wish you guys the best this weekend.
Yeah, thanks. You too. I'm going to
bring home some winners. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, Jesse, you know what to do next. You can take us out of here. I get tired of saying it, but I like watching you say it.
Remember, all you guys out there, bet with your head and not over it, and may all the wins be yours.
Couldn't have said it better myself.